if I told you there was a drink so powerful, so revered, so deeply woven into the fabric of ancient royalty that kings refused to go to war without it? Queens demanded it at every meal, and physicians who could prepare it properly were treated as national treasures. A drink that wasn't wine, it wasn't water, it wasn't any kind of alcohol. It was an herbal preparation so specific, so deliberately crafted that the recipe was guarded the way we guard nuclear codes today. And then it vanished. Not slowly, not gradually, it was erased, replaced by coffee, by tea plantations funded by colonial empires, by sodas engineered in laboratories, by energy drinks that assault your nervous system and call it vitality, and the drink that sustained kings for centuries was simply forgotten. Left behind in manuscripts nobody reads, in traditions nobody practices, in cultures that were colonized out of their own medicine. But here's what makes this story worth telling right now. The ingredients didn't disappear. Every single herb in this ancient royal drink is still available, still growing, still carrying the same compounds that made kings feel invincible and kept royal bloodlines healthy for generations. And modern clinical research has now confirmed that these ingredients do exactly what ancient court physicians claimed they did. Today, I'm going to resurrect this drink. I'm going to show you what was in it, why it worked, why it disappeared, and how you can make it tonight in your own kitchen. Stick around because what I reveal about the third ingredient in this formula will genuinely shock you. It was so valuable in the ancient world that it was traded ounce for ounce with gold. Wars were fought over its supply routes, and immunologists just published findings showing it does something to human immune cells that no pharmaceutical drug on the market currently replicates. If you believe the old ways deserve more than a footnote in a history book, hit that subscribe button right now, because every week on this channel, we dig up what the modern world buried and prove it still works. Let's get into it. First, let me tell you which drink we're talking about, because this wasn't one drink from one culture. This was a pattern, a remarkably consistent pattern that appeared independently across ancient Persia, Ayurvedic India, dynastic China, Ottoman Turkey, Moorish Spain, and even medieval European courts. Different names, different languages, different empires, but the same core concept repeated over and over again. A warm herbal preparation consumed daily by the ruling class, made from adaptogenic and tonic herbs, designed not to treat disease after it arrived, but to prevent it from ever taking hold. The Persians called preparations like this sharbat, the origin of our word sherbet, though the original had nothing to do with frozen dessert. It was a sophisticated medicinal drink. Indian royalty consumed what Ayurvedic physicians called rasayana tonics, herbal elixirs specifically formulated for longevity, cognitive sharpness, and sustained vitality. Chinese emperors drank carefully balanced herbal formulations their court physicians spent lifetimes perfecting. Ottoman sultans had dedicated herbalists who prepared daily tonics from spice route ingredients that cost more than most families earned in a year. The specific recipes varied by region and available ingredients, but when you analyze them side by side, the overlap is stunning. The same categories of herbs appear again and again: adaptogens for stress resilience, anti-inflammatories for systemic protection, circulatory stimulants for vitality, digestive supporters for nutrient absorption, and nervines for cognitive clarity and emotional stability. These weren't random combinations. They were formulas refined over centuries of royal experimentation, where the physician's life literally depended on whether the king stayed healthy. That's a powerful incentive for accuracy. Let me walk you through the core ingredients that appeared most consistently across these royal formulations and show you what modern science says about each one. Because when you see the evidence lined up, you'll understand why this drink kept kings on their thrones and why its disappearance left a gap that nothing has adequately filled. The foundation of nearly every royal herbal drink across the ancient world was ashwagandha, or its regional equivalent. In India, ashwagandha, Withania somnifera, was the undisputed king of rasayana herbs. It was prescribed to royalty specifically to maintain strength under the unique pressures of leadership, the sleepless nights, the constant decision-making, the weight of an empire on one set of shoulders. And here's what court physicians observed that modern science has now confirmed. Ashwagandha doesn't just calm you down, it recalibrates your entire stress response system. Clinical trials show it reduces cortisol levels by up to 30%, improves sleep quality, reduces anxiety on validated clinical scales, enhances cognitive function under stress, and increases physical endurance and recovery. The withanolides in ashwagandha cross the blood-brain barrier and modulate the HPA axis, the master control system for how your body processes stress. Kings faced threats that would destroy ordinary people. Assassination attempts, wars, famine, political betrayal. They needed a nervous system that could absorb relentless pressure without breaking, and ashwagandha was the tool their physicians used to build that resilience. In the royal drink, ashwagandha root was simmered in warm milk or water as the base, the canvas onto which everything else was layered. The second ingredient that appears with remarkable consistency is turmeric, not as a spice, as medicine. Curcuma longa was used in royal formulations across India, Persia, and Southeast Asia, specifically for its anti-inflammatory properties. And this is where the ancient physicians demonstrated knowledge that took modern science until the 21st century to confirm. Chronic low-grade inflammation is now understood to be the root driver of nearly every major disease. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, autoimmune conditions. They all share inflammatory pathways. Ancient court physicians didn't use the word inflammation, but they observed that kings who consumed turmeric daily maintained their health longer, recovered from illness faster, and aged more slowly than those who didn't. Over 12,000 published studies have now investigated curcumin, turmeric's primary active compound. It inhibits NF-κB, the master switch of inflammatory gene expression. It modulates over 700 genes involved in cellular inflammation and repair, but curcumin alone is poorly absorbed. And this is where the genius of the royal formulation reveals itself. Ancient physicians always combined turmeric with black pepper and fat. Piperine from black pepper increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. Fat provides the lipid carrier curcumin needs to cross intestinal membranes. They solved the bioavailability problem through centuries of observation, arriving at the exact solution that pharmaceutical researchers identified as necessary thousands of years later. In the royal drink, turmeric was simmered into the warm base with cracked black pepper and a small amount of ghee or coconut oil. Not stirred in, simmered. The heat extraction was part of the medicine. The third ingredient is the one I teased at the beginning, and it deserves every word of that buildup: saffron, Crocus sativus, the most expensive spice in human history, requiring over 150,000 flowers, hand-harvested at dawn, to produce a single kilogram. In the ancient world, saffron was worth more than gold by weight. It was the ultimate symbol of royal privilege. Wars were fought over saffron-producing regions. Trade routes existed solely for its transport, and it appeared in virtually every royal herbal drink from Persia to India to the Ottoman court. The question nobody asked for centuries was simple: why? Why would kings spend fortunes adding a few threads of saffron to their daily drink? Because it was doing something extraordinary to their minds. Modern psychiatric research has now confirmed what royal physicians observed for millennia. Saffron has genuine, clinically significant antidepressant effects. Multiple randomized controlled trials show saffron supplementation improves symptoms of mild to moderate depression comparably to pharmaceutical antidepressants, including fluoxetine and imipramine. The active compounds, crocin and saffronol, modulate serotonin metabolism in the brain, increasing the availability of the neurotransmitter most associated with mood stability and emotional resilience. But saffron doesn't stop at mood. Studies show it improves cognitive function, supports memory formation, has documented anti-anxiety effects, protects retinal cells, and supports eye health, and has anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties that rival the most potent compounds in natural medicine. Research on saffron and immune function is where things get truly remarkable. Studies show crocin modulates immune cell activity in ways that enhance pathogen response while reducing autoimmune overreaction. This bidirectional immune modulation is something pharmaceutical immunology has been chasing for decades without fully achieving. Saffron appears to do it naturally. Now imagine you're a king. You're under constant psychological pressure. You need mental clarity, emotional stability, resistance to depression and anxiety, sharp cognition, and an immune system that can handle whatever biological threats your enemies might send your way. Saffron addresses every single one of those needs. It wasn't a luxury addition to the royal drink. It was the most strategically important ingredient in the entire formula. In the preparation, a few threads of saffron were steeped in the warm liquid, releasing their deep crimson color and their bioactive compounds into the drink. The color itself became associated with royalty. That association wasn't aesthetic, it was medical. The fourth ingredient was ginger. Zingiber officinale appears in royal formulations across every culture that had access to it. Fresh ginger root was grated or sliced into the warm base for its circulatory and digestive effects. Ginger contains gingerols and shogaols that increase blood circulation, enhance nutrient absorption, reduce nausea, and have powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Clinical studies show ginger inhibits QX2, the same inflammatory enzyme targeted by pharmaceutical drugs, without the gastrointestinal damage those drugs cause. In the context of the royal drink, ginger served a dual purpose. It was therapeutic in its own right, but it also enhanced the absorption and circulation of every other ingredient. Ancient physicians understood that medicine doesn't work if it can't reach where it needs to go. Ginger was the delivery system. It ensured that the ashwagandha, the turmeric, the saffron all reached the tissues and organs where they were needed. It also gave the drink its warmth, its bite, its quality of waking up the body from the inside. Royal physicians describe ginger as the herb that opens the channels. Modern pharmacology would call it a bioenhancer and circulatory stimulant. Same observation, different vocabulary, 3,000 years apart. The fifth ingredient was raw honey, stirred in at the very end after the liquid had cooled enough to not destroy its enzymes. Honey wasn't a sweetener, it was the final layer of medicine. Raw honey contains over 200 bioactive compounds, including enzymes, amino acids, trace minerals, and antimicrobial proteins. It has documented antibacterial properties effective against pathogens, including antibiotic-resistant strains. It supports the production of melatonin through the tryptophan-serotonin conversion pathway. It provides glucose and fructose in a ratio that replenishes liver glycogen, supporting sustained energy and stable blood sugar. And in the context of an herbal drink, honey acts as what Ayurvedic medicine calls a yoga vahi, a carrier substance that enhances the delivery of other medicines into body tissues. The honey wasn't optional. It was functional architecture. It bound the formula together and carried it deeper into the body than the herbs could reach on their own. So there it is, the complete royal herbal drink. Ashwagandha simmered in warm milk or water as the adaptogenic base. Turmeric with black pepper and fat for systemic anti-inflammatory protection. Saffron steeped for cognitive clarity, emotional resilience, and immune modulation. Ginger for circulation, digestion, and bioenhancement, and raw honey stirred in at the end as both medicine and carrier. 5 ingredients, each one backed by extensive clinical research, each one available right now. And together, they form a formula that addresses stress, inflammation, mood, cognition, immunity, digestion, and sleep in a single daily drink. Now let me tell you why it disappeared, because the disappearance is as important as the drink itself. It didn't vanish because people found something better. It vanished because of colonialism, industrialization, and profit. When the British Empire colonized India, they systematically dismantled Ayurvedic medical education and replaced it with Western pharmaceutical medicine. Traditional physicians were delegitimized. Ancient formulations were reclassified as superstition. The same pattern repeated across the Ottoman Empire, across Persia, across every colonized region where traditional herbal medicine was practiced at a sophisticated level. Simultaneously, the global beverage industry emerged. Coffee, colonial tea, and eventually carbonated sugar water became the daily drinks of the modern world. Not because they were healthier, because they were profitable. You can't patent ashwagandha. You can't trademark saffron. You can't build a global beverage corporation around a drink that people can make in their own kitchens from ingredients they grow in their own gardens. But you can build one around caffeine, sugar, and artificial flavoring. So that's what happened. The drink of kings was replaced by the drink of corporations. And we've been living with the consequences ever since. Rising rates of chronic inflammation, epidemic anxiety and depression, stress-related disease as the leading cause of death worldwide, immune dysfunction on a scale previous generations never experienced. We traded a formula that addressed all of these things for one that causes most of them. But here's the thing that should give you hope. The ingredients never disappeared. Every single component of this royal formula is available to you right now. Ashwagandha powder is in every health food store. Turmeric is in every grocery store. Saffron is expensive, but a few threads per serving is all you need. Ginger is everywhere. Raw honey requires finding a real source, but it exists. The recipe is simple. Simmer ashwagandha root powder and turmeric with cracked black pepper in warm milk or water for 10 minutes. Add fresh grated ginger. Steep a few saffron threads. Let it cool slightly and stir in a tablespoon of raw honey. Drink it 30 to 45 minutes before bed. That's the royal formula. The same preparation that sustained empires is now sitting in your kitchen waiting for you to assemble it. If you made it to the end of this video, you now know something that was nearly lost forever. A drink that kings built their health around, that empires depended on, that court physicians refined over thousands of years of direct observation, and you know exactly how to make it. So here's what I want you to do. Hit that like button if this video changed the way you think about what we lost when we abandoned ancient medicine. Drop a comment and tell me, are you going to make this tonight? Which ingredient surprised you most? Was it the saffron? The ashwagandha? The fact that ancient physicians solved bioavailability before modern science even named it? I read every single comment, and this community never stops amazing me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the moment. Hit that button and ring the notification bell. Every week, we resurrect the wisdom that the modern world tried to bury and prove it still has the power to heal. No corporations, no gatekeeping, just ancient knowledge meeting modern science in your own kitchen. This drink was used by kings, it was forgotten, but now you have the recipe, and what you do with it is entirely up to you. See you in the next one.